Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is HannahsBooks. Today I want to do one of the many tags I have on my list of videos to make. Let's get straight into the excellent Booktube Journey Tag put together by Katie at Books and Things, who was kind enough to tag me, as was Jason at Triumphal Reads and Charlotte at Coiny Reads. This book has a few similarities with another tag I want to do, the Stay Gold tag made by Mild Rumpus. I'm going to try to focus more on my early days of Booktube for this particular tag, and more on later days for the Stay Gold tag, but there may be a bit of overlap. Question 1. How long have you been watching Booktube? I started watching Booktube for the first time in late 2017, I think, while I was recovering from chemotherapy for breast cancer. Right then, I found myself in a weird place, quite literally, sitting on the couch for many extra hours a day because I had so little energy, and yet having far less ability to concentrate enough while I was reading. Right as I was finally starting to regain an ability to read, I picked up Tessa the D'Urbervilles, a book I knew my mother had loved, but which I had never read, and I absolutely adored it, and was blown away. I wanted to hear what other people thought about it, and I looked on Goodreads. One of the reviews I read there mentioned that there was this amazing young woman over on YouTube who talked about Victorian fiction. So I checked that out and discovered not just Katie, but the whole idea of Booktube. I was in heaven. The second question, how long have you been making Booktube videos? 4.5 years, I think. I'll be celebrating my 5th anniversary in early September. Due to family circumstances, my participation here was really spotty for a while, and I'm still trying to get back into the regular groove again, to be honest. Question 3. What made you start making videos? Well, I knew that after my husband David died, I would need to find a paying job again, and I didn't think I wanted to return to academia. I started to consider what I could do from home while he was ill, and I stumbled across online teaching. This was wildly just a few months before the COVID pandemic began, and I was incredibly pleased to find an opportunity to teach online history and literature to advanced high school students, international students who hope to attend college in the United States. The part that really scared me about the job was that I would need to make short videos that would be posted on a private online platform. That was very much not one of my skills. Talking to a camera sounded terrifying. And suddenly, the YouTube videos I was watching started resonating in a totally different way. They were short videos that, I realized, were models of talking about literature in a conversational way that I suspected would work well with students. I wanted to have a place where I could practice talking to a camera. And my spouse, David, who had been listening to me talk about Booktube for months, and whom I had forced to watch a fair bit of Booktube with me, said, start a channel. It'll be a great way to practice. And then he said this, it will be a great way to make some friends, and you might appreciate that when I die. And he was definitely right. Having this community on top of my real life friends has been wonderful. Question 4. Are there any people who have played a significant role in your Booktube journey? I'm going to list a bunch of people who first got me going on this Booktube journey. Right before I started my channel, I found Tilly at Tilly's Shelf, who made an amazing video for what might have been the first Jane Austen July, talking about the books that Emma might have read. While I knew I could never pull off that kind of brilliance, it was incredibly inspiring. Right before I started my own channel, I found Brian at Bookish and Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics when they began Faulkner in August. Those videos made me sure there was a place in Booktube for a reader like me. And Jason and Kelly at Old Blues Chapter and Verse and Books I'm Not Reading were also there from my first days with what has become Shake Timber. The fifth question, what kind of books do you like to read? I love reading classic literature, from Homer to Shakespeare, from Jane Austen to George Eliot to Virginia Woolf, from Nathaniel Hawthorne to Eudora Welty to Toni Morrison. I also read a bit of contemporary literary fiction and a lot of nonfiction, especially biographies, memoirs, and works of history. Question 6. How has that changed since you started on Booktube? Well, I've learned a lot more about the expanse of Victorian literature, for sure, from Katie, but also from other booktubers. And I've read more contemporary novels than I ever have before, mostly because of direct recommendations by booktubers, or simply because of their excitement about particular books. But I don't think my reading taste have changed that much, just broadened. The 7th question. What kind of videos do you most like to make? I love to answer tags, actually. When I first started, I really didn't want to participate much in tag culture at all. So much so that I didn't even watch many tags for a while. I don't actually remember why I was suspicious of them. But fairly quickly, I fell in love with the kind of conversations that I saw happening across Booktube as people discussed the same kinds of questions. And now, both as a viewer and as a maker of tags, I really enjoy the personal side, the storytelling aspect, that often comes out more clearly in tags than it does in book reviews. Question 8. How has that changed since you started on Booktube? Do you think your video making style has changed over time? Although I am still shy, I have definitely gotten a lot more comfortable in front of the camera than I was when I started. More on that in the next question. After I made the first few videos, I started using the much better camera that I used for my work. At first, I filmed on my very old phone, and both the visuals and the sound were pretty bad. But my general video style is pretty much the same. Mostly me sitting fairly still and talking slowly straight to the camera, and sometimes maybe inserting a few photographs or moments of video footage. I'd really like to make a vlog type video sometime soon, something I've never really done, but which I mentioned the other day and got lots of support. I was a little bit surprised by how much support, in fact. Number 9. Do you script or edit your videos? And has that changed over time? Well, I am seriously introverted, and I think better when I'm writing than when I speak. My first videos, which I'm probably stupid to keep up even, are still there, showing exactly how awkward I found it to speak to a camera. In the beginning, I basically scripted out almost exactly what I wanted to say, practiced the script a few times to get the words under my tongue, and then recorded it. I learned to stay very still when I started panicking, and then edit those huge moments of silence out. I had the script within very easy access, which I sometimes really needed to rely on when my memory failed. Now, after several years on this platform, I've become a little more comfortable talking to the camera, but I still plan out what I want to say, at least to a degree, outlining big points and the basic direction of how I want to say them, sometimes scripting out particular passages, and I still edit out long pauses when I can't figure out what words should come next. The 10th question, what's the most viewed video on your channel? Well, I really love to read stories aloud, and I've read a handful of them here on this channel. A few of them have what for me is a very large number of viewers. One about 64,000 views. Kind of wild. Interestingly, when I read stories, I get a very different audience, including a lot of teachers who suggest the stories to their students, and a lot of students, both high school and college level students. It's pretty amazing to read the comments from them. In general, I'm just blown away by the students' appreciation, especially the students with dyslexia or other learning disabilities who say they can suddenly really make sense of a story they'd been struggling with and feeling disconnected from beforehand. I wasn't expecting that response, and it makes me feel really good. 11. What's your favorite video you've ever made? I really love my behind the scenes video, where I'll walk you through my bookshelves, including the ones behind me, but also most of the books on the shelves throughout the house. I also let you in on a secret or two in that video. The 12th question. Do you have a favorite book you've read because of Booktube? Two big lacunae in my pre-Booktube life were George Eliot's Middlemarch and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. The first I had pretty much avoided for years just because of the length, and I really have no excuse at all about the Woolf novel. And now, of course, I adore both of them, and I kind of knew I would. One book I read that I'm not sure I would have ever picked up without Booktube was Eliot's Adam Bede. I read it specifically because of Kate Howe's wonderful Knit and Listen read-along back during my very first Victober, and I adored the book. Actually, I'd like to read it again sometime soon, and maybe pair it with Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, books which have certain kinds of resonances. 13. Do you have a favorite Booktube experience to tell us about? I think my favorite experiences have been getting to meet other booktubers in person. I've met several people here in the Washington, D.C. area when people have come to town, and that has been really lovely. And of course, I've loved going to Boston, where my son went to college and now works, and where I've gotten to visit Steve Donahue a few times and become friends with him and his lovely bean. That friendship has been a source of enormous pleasure for me. Question 14. What does your book collection look like? Right at the moment, things are in flux a bit here, as I am reorganizing things and re-inhabiting the study, which was my study for many years, but during the pandemic, it became the room my son used when he zoomed into college classes, and then later it became my husband's work-from-home room when he could no longer go upstairs. So, as I try to rearrange things a bit, there are tall stacks of books everywhere. That behind-the-scenes video I mentioned earlier might give you a better sense of what my book collection usually looks like. The last substantive question is, what advice would you give to new people starting a Booktube channel? Many of the folks who've done this tag have given some wonderful advice, and I'll just underline one point. Be yourself. But don't feel like anyone expects you to be any specific way or to post certain kinds of videos. If you're young and beautiful and bubbly, wonderful. But if you're slow and nerdy and maybe a bit older, that all works here too. Booktube is amazingly welcome and quite accepting, and also really compassionate when you need it. Well, the last prompt is to tag some people. I have been very slow to answer this tag, and I've been really behind on watching Booktube as well due to some family responsibilities, so I'm going to punt here. I just want to say that if you have had a channel for a long time, this tag is an excellent set of questions to help you reintroduce yourself to the larger Booktube community. And if you're a fairly new channel, it's a great way for newer subscribers to get to know more about you. Please consider yourself tagged. Okay, thank you so much, Katie, for putting together these great questions. Thanks as well to Charlotte and Jason, as well as Katie, for tagging me. And thanks to all of you for joining me today here on Hannah's Books. See you again soon. I hope very soon.